I'm here at J&O Fabrics. I'm going to show you today how to make a no-sew fleece tie blanket. I like to start off with the supplies you need to get started. A pair of scissors is good to cut your fleece. Yardstick, which is good for measuring. Or you can use straight edge, which is good for straight cuts, along with a rotary cutter. And a bunch of straight pins to secure your fleece stem once you put them together. And we don't want to forget a yard of fleece fabric. You can use 2 yards if you want to make a bigger blanket, but a yard is good for a kid's blanket or just as a throw blanket. This is the bottom half of the blanket I'm going to use. I chose black, and this is a yard, just the top layer of the blanket, and this is about 60 wide, so it's pretty sufficient for a kid's blanket. And next I'll get into the sizing and how to make your no-sew tie blanket. I'm going to show you how to get set up to start your no-sew tie blanket. It's best to start off on a flat surface. A table is preferable. And you want to make sure all the fabric is smoothed out. And we're just going to put our other piece of fleece on top. Top and bottom pieces of the fleece, just like so. Making sure that, unlike with sewing, with the no-sew tie blanket, you want to make sure that the right side is facing out on both sides. So this is the top part of my top layer of fleece, and this would be the top part of my bottom layer of fleece. And again, I want to make sure my edges here match up and are even. So I'm just going to take a pair of scissors and trim the excess black that's peeking through here. That way it's just as even as possible, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's a creative project. And I want to make sure they're all matching there, and they are. So next I'll get into pinning it. Pinning it is very important because the edges that you cut off is to make sure that it's even, and you want to pin it to secure that evenness around the fleece. So I'm just going to put a pin here. The amount of pins you use is up to personal preference, but I would recommend using just about 3 or 4 on each side and just make sure that that fleece is secure and not going anywhere. As I'm doing the pins on the corners and around, I made sure I left a little bit of space here. That way I can cut out a square, and I'll show you what that means right now. For cutting out the square, I like to use a straight edge. You can use a yardstick if you like, but with the straight edge, it's a little easier because there's actually a grid printed on the straight edge, so it helps you out with cutting your perfect square. And you're going to want to do this on all 4 sides of the blanket because it will help when you're doing the fringe to tie the bottom piece of fleece to the top piece of fleece. So the amount here is totally a personal preference. I'm going to go with 3 inches here, or you could choose to go with as much as you want. So once I have my grid down, I'm going to take my scissor and just go up to the corner of the straight edge and then over to the edge. And that will make my perfect square. And I'm going to use this square as a template when I'm going on my other 3 corners. That way I don't have to re-measure. Now that I finished cutting the corners, I'm going to put a fringe on the edges of the fleece. Now, before I cut the fringe here, it could either be a finger length, which is about an inch, or you could choose to do it 2 to 3 inches. It's your own personal preference. I'm just going to go a thumb's width away and start cutting upward my scissors, and I'm going to stop right at the edge here where the square, and then so do that here. Okay, now for those of you who may want a little more precise cut, a straight edge comes into play for that, and it's perfect to use. What you could do is just line up the grid here, the vertical lines, and just cut going upward till you meet that line, just like so. And then I'm going to do the next one. And then you could do this, or if you want to use the fingers, like a thumb length away, you could do this all around the fleece. And I'm just going to finish up my last fringe. And I'm going to get into knotting it now. That's when I'm going to take my bottom layer fleece, which I use black again, and my top layer, which is my Snoopy fleece, and I'm going to take my bottom layer and knot it around the top, just as if you're knotting a shoelace, and it goes like so. Or you could choose to do the reverse. If you want a more uniformed blanket, you want to use whichever, if you use the top or the bottom layer fleece, you want to use that all the way around. So since I used my bottom, I'm going to do that again. Pull it through. I'm going to keep doing this until I get all the way around my blanket. Okay, so I'm just finishing up with my last fringe. Make sure my knots are secure here. Alright, and I don't want to forget to take out my pens as I finish up. Okay, and here we have it, a No-Sew Fleece Tie Blanket. And you can see here the ends, how wonderful they look with the black coming through. It's even much warmer than the other project, which was just a single layer fringe blanket. It's nice and cozy, and it's much more creative using the 2 layers of fleece, because you have more flexibility and could use more creativity in creating the kind that's suitable for your needs. I'm Terica from J&O Fabrics, and good luck, have fun, see you next video.